This is Tim Storey, life coach to the stars. On today's CIA, Contagious Influencers of America podcast, with my friend David Sams, man, do we have an amazing show for you. In fact, so many of you sleep with this man's invention every single night of your life. In fact, if you didn't sleep with it, you wouldn't wake up happy. His name is Mike Lindell. Welcome to this edition of CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, where we mentor you to become a contagious influencer. With my friend, 9-time Emmy-winning producer, director, and writer, and contagious influencer, David Sams.
We're talking about MyPillow.
Yes.
You know?
Okay.
And just think about it. I have probably tried out a dozen pillows in the last 2 or 3 years. And you know how you twist and you turn and you're always fighting with those things. And you go, well, maybe I'm allergic to this one or that one. This guy comes up with this thing that America has fallen in love with. But I will tell you, I recently met up with Mike, and he is on fire. First of all, the guy was a coke addict. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm talking about just a few years back. He was a coke addict. And he was just all messed up. His family was messed up. It was just miraculous what happened to him. But the fact is, he has turned into an American success story. I'm not going to say overnight because, oh my gosh, we have been, I don't know about you. I've been brainwashed by those commercials on TV.
Listen, David, I've been so brainwashed. I had my assistant go get me 2 sets of these pillows because it's mypillow.com. If you don't get it, you just feel like you were left out.
Do you know the jingle at the end?
Of course I do.
See, how does it go? For the best in the whole
wide world,
mypillow.com.
Yeah, it's in my mind.
Yeah.
It's with me. It stays with me when I wake up and when I go back to sleep. 35 million people.
That's almost as many people as watch you on Facebook.
Yeah. But guess what? He turned a setback into a comeback, and you got the nitty-gritty facts, didn't you?
I sure did.
I know your style, because I know that you were going to go in there and find out how this really took place.
I know. I not only did that, but I ended up with a couple of MyPillows. So, hey, you know what? Sometimes there are benefits in doing these interviews.
Yes. Let's go to the interview.
Let's do it. We have with us Mike Lindell, the inventor and the CEO of MyPillow.
Yep.
And if somebody has not seen MyPillow or Mike Lindell on television, they don't have a television.
Yeah, we're out there a lot. Yeah. Yes.
I was in the direct response business for 15 years. Mm-hmm. I had some very successful projects, one infomercial the year, 1 year, 20 years ago or so. And I know the difference between a grand slam and just a nice little spot. And MyPillow is not only a grand slam, it's sort of redefined success of direct response, of going direct to the people.
Right.
And I attribute a lot of that to you, your personality, your creativity, that you do with your spots. So I want to congratulate you on that. But it wasn't an easy road getting to where you are today.
No, it wasn't.
And I know that you have a personal story, an overcomer story that I'd like for you to share with us.
Sure. Well, when I was a cocaine addict, and all through the 80s and 90s, and I did marry, had 4 kids, and we got in early 2000. But I was always an entrepreneur. I had a bars and restaurants, never used a bank. I'd buy them contract for a deed, and not a good place for an addict to be. But I had the one bar 13 years, and at some point, our addictions out there switched from cocaine to crack cocaine, and that took everybody down pretty fast. And through a series of events, I ended up selling that bar, and I was kind of devastated. It's a long story having to sell it, and And then I got this dream of a pillow. If I got it from God, I mean, it came in a dream. The name came first, My Pillow, and I got up and wrote it all over the house. And my daughter, she's like 12 years old. She came upstairs. She goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm inventing this pillow. It's gonna be called My Pillow. And she looks and grabbed her glass of water. She said, "That's really random, Dad." And she heads back downstairs. And then I just got. All my energies everything went into inventing the pillow. And I would get different dreams of what it should be, and my youngest son, we'd sit out every day on the deck and tear different foams and try different stuff inside the pillow. And finally we came up with and everyone's laughing at me. They're going, "You're never going to get a patent on a pillow." And my family, they're going, "When's he going to get over this pillow thing?" And, well, he'll get over it soon. And, but it took about a year and a half, and finally invented it, and I had to get a machine even to make the sizes and all these things. And I was so excited, but we were broke. We were completely broke, mortgaged our house, and there was nothing left but I had the pillow. And during that time, like I say, it was kind of my addiction kind of just went into that. Everything went into that. I'm going, this is going to be world changing. And I went into the box stores. I walked into one, and I'll just say it right out. It was a Bed Bath & Beyond in Minnesota. And I walked in there. I said, "I have the best pillow ever made." And I said, "Where's your manager?" He goes, "I am the manager." I said, "How many would you like?" He says, "We don't do it like that. We have a buyer, and he's somewhere, whatever state it was. And you're not going to be able to see him." And I go, "No, I really need to see him. How many want just in your store?" He goes, "You need to leave." And but so it was a shutout. I was shut out, and I was turned down by them. I was turned by a shopping channel, everything. And someone said, "Well, Mike, why don't you do a kiosk?" And I said, "How do you spell that?" And I said, "What is it?" And I did the kiosk. I took color crayons and colored the stencils from a department store, family owned and operated, and people. It was before Christmas that year for a month and a half, and borrowed money to do that. That was the last money on our house, and for Christmas present. Well, we only sold like 80 pillows. And one guy I was working with one day, and he said, "You have a card?" And I said, "Oh, I'm all out of cards. I don't know what cards were." I wrote my number on a piece of paper, and in January he calls up and he says, this guy happened to call, and he said, "Yeah, you're the guy that invented this pillow in Minnesota here." And I said, "Yeah." He says, "It changed my life." And it's a miracle. And I run the Minneapolis Home and Garden Show. Would you like a spot in there? And so I said, "Absolutely." Well, I go to do that, and a strange thing happened. With my crack and my addictions, I always had this rejection spirit. Even in high school, I was very shy. I could not talk, okay? I wouldn't talk to strangers. You can't be rejected if you don't talk to them, right? And I would, but behind that, so I always had to have a crutch, cocaine for a truck to be able, crutch to be able to talk to people. Well, a strange thing happened at that show. I'd be behind the table, and I could talk to people, be all passionate about my pillow. And people would come up, and then the ones would come back the next day. We sold out. It was like 300 pills, all we had left in the world, and sold out. And then the Minnesota State Fair, we applied there, got in, and at least I knew I could support my family doing these home shows and fairs. Well, that started an incredible parallel track where you're doing these shows, but yet you're addicted. You're this crack cocaine addiction, and people tried to come in and take my company. They tried to take the manufacturing. All this betrayal. Every time I reached outside, somebody tried to take the manufacturing of the machine I had patented, and or employees would try and I had a couple employees that just would do shows, and they tried to take everything. And I was a kind of addict. I was a giver. It wasn't like I borrowed money and you wouldn't see me. I would borrow my payback double the next day. I never broke my trust during that time. But I lost. Got to be 2007, and it was literally lights out. We were taking the pillow, and we were labeling them in our living room. And these guys were taking the company and losing our house. And my wife left after 20 years, the middle of the night. And
did she take her pillow with her?
Yeah, she should. Yeah, I don't think she took anything with her. She just walked off the course. And so it was very dark days. And I got divorced. Then in 2007 and 2008. I kept getting it with just my pillow just kept going by a string, and doing the shows. And when I never broke trust with the promoters and stuff, so I had this.
So you were doing the state fairs. You were between the guy selling the pots and pans,
right,
and the guy selling the things for put in your shoes. so you wouldn't get a sore back, right?
Right. And and I bought all those products. But it's funny. I was doing the state fair the one year, and this guy was standing there in a suit, and I had to put a 10-year warranty on the pillow and all this stuff I had gotten dreams from God, and I didn't know, it was all theory that this stuff would last that long, and this guy is standing there, and I'm kind of busy, and all of a sudden they walk away, and he comes up, he goes, he was from a big bedding company. He said, "You guys invented this pillow?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "This last 10 years we tested it, and I'm going, good. I'm glad someone did." And for that, and he goes, he says, he goes, "You got a patent?" And I said, "No," and it was patent pending. And he says, "You better hope you do." He says, this will never see big retail. And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Those cars got 200 miles a gallon?" He says, "You don't hear about that guy." And he said, "They'll come around you, the big companies, and get a patent and shut it down because they want to sell you 40 pillows over a 10-year period that don't work." I never forgot that. So any entrepreneurs out there, you are protected till you'll always make your own product. You're going to maybe be copied all the stuff that goes on out there. But
so how did you end up on TV?
The spring of 2008, it was February, and I had it was nothing hardly left. It was doing shows and all by myself, mirrored in my crack addiction. And I had always told, at that time, I would always stay up and try and solve all my problems before I would go to bed. Okay, I could kind of like play through. And the one night I'm sitting there, and I had been on our public access TV station. I had went in there, and this gal, she says, "Mike, come on into the station." And she said, "You can be on, I'll have you on TV." I said, she actually didn't say it. She said, "Stop in." And I'd seen her at a home show. So I did. I was on my way to Minneapolis anyway to meet my drug dealer. And, but I made the mistake. I stopped in there first. Turned out to be a good thing in the long run. She goes, "Oh, I want you on air right now." And I said, "I can't go on air." I'm thinking, I don't have this. I'd be scared. There's no way, because I couldn't talk to two people in the same room without drugs. And she goes, "No, I want you on right now. It's, you can go out there. Just do what you do at the shows." Well, I went out there, and I got on this little this little show, and he interviewed me. And the people that knew me, they go, "Wow, you didn't have any drugs, did you?" And the people that didn't know me said, "What, were you on drugs?" Because I was like, so nervous, And but she would play that show every now and then, like maybe once a week or in the middle of the night, and people would call me and order pillows. And even as bad as I was on that show, so I was the only one taking the calls, and I would treat every customer like it was my only customer, no matter how long I'd been up or how late, or it didn't matter. I answered that phone. Well, this night in particular, it was like 9:30 at night in early March of 2008, and this lady called me up and she said, "Are you the late guy on Channel 6? She said, "Yeah." She says, "Well, the Lord led me to call you and pray with you. I'm not buying a pillow, but she said that what you're doing, you have a big platform, a very big calling." And I said, "Sure." And I was up anyway, so I'm going, "Yeah, let's pray." And so she prayed for about 15 minutes and said goodbye. And about an hour later, now this had never happened before, right? An hour later, another lady calls up. She said, "Did you the guy on Channel 6? I said, "Yeah." She said, "God told me in prayer that what you're doing is very important to the kingdom, and I'd like to pray with you." I said, "Sure." So she prays for like 45 minutes. We end up being pretty good friends. 3 a.m, another caller calls, and it's a guy, and he said, "You the guy on Channel 6? I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I don't believe in God, but," he said, "I keep getting these dreams. I'm supposed to call and tell you what you're doing is important to God. Now, goodbye. I hope my dreams stop." He slams down the phone. But 8 months later, or in December of 2008, and this is really important for what I have going on now, I was all by myself, and there was a friend of mine that I first did cocaine with back in 1984, and I'd been in treatment stuff all along, different treatments, and they never worked, okay? Well, he was the reason they didn't work. No, I couldn't relate to anybody, because I was like, I'm in my 20s, and I'm betting football in the mafia, 20, 30,000, don't even have a dime, and in treatment, you couldn't relate to these guys that just got a DWI and they owed money for trying to get their license back. Well, here this Dick comes into my house, and I hadn't seen him in 3 years, or a year, but he had been clean for 3 years, had found Jesus. And he comes in, I said, "Dick," I said, "what are you doing here?" He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "The Lord brought me here to talk to you." And I said, "Well, good, I got some questions for you." And now he had switched to crack too, so he was like, I could relate to him. Anything he told me, I was going to trust that advice. And I said, first question I said, hey, Dick, is it boring? And he said, no, man, it ain't boring. It's amazing. And he's telling me all these things. And I'm going, and anyway, he leaves after about an hour, and we were talking the old times, but he kept trying to bring it up to the present, you know, not living in the past. And he leaves, and about a month later, and it was January 16, 2009, and the pillow company, everything was taken, my shows, and I didn't know this at the time, but I knew that if one more day, and that my sister had even called, she says, you know, God's tired of waiting. He's got a big calling. He's tired of you standing in front of semis and thinking, because I had all these near-death experiences and stuff, but but I figured since I had this big platform that was just calling, I actually used it against, I procrastinated. Okay, God, I'm going to wait on this because, you know, I can do anything, because it sounds like I'm going to quit my addictions, which are masking my pain from, you know, most pain from childhood and stuff, traumas and so on. And now I got this big platform. I said, that sounds like pretty bad. You know, all this, I'm gonna have a lot of worry and a lot of weight. But anyway, January 16, 2009, that day, I knew one more day and that was gonna close forever. And it wasn't, you call it a bottom or whatever. For me, it was, I was gonna lose this calling. And someone else would be chosen, or it was, you know, I could just picture Jesus weeping out there going, you know, I had chosen you, you know. And anyway, I prayed that day. I said, okay, Lord, I said, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be freed of these addictions, the desire. And then I'll do this platform thing. I wasn't praying the salvation prayer, okay? It was, then I'll do this platform thing. So it's like, wake up the next day and I'm going, wow, it's gone. They're gone. The desire was gone. And I'm going, this is amazing. And it was, I had no, you know, before I tried to quit, I had all these dreams. I was still on it, but it was completely gone. And I needed, now that my company was taken, and I needed the guy that even had the fabric, that middled me on the fabric, I asked him, I said, you know, I need my fabric. And he goes, oh, they say you have to give him cash now. I go, you're kidding. Now I knew he was on this, you know, this takeover. And I said, I mean, I got to pay cash. It was $30,000. And I said, can I have till Friday? And which was a week. And he knew I couldn't come up with it. And they needed it because they were going to make these other pillows, which they were doing. And he gave me till the following Friday at 1:00. And I sat there and a guy had told me these guys are kind of mavericks and they, you know, that they may borrow me money sometime or whatever. And I remember them. I called him up. I said, can I meet these guys? And he said, yeah. And the soonest appointment was that following Friday at 10:00. And I'm just showing you this divine appointment, this miracle the following week. So I get in there. And now I remember I couldn't talk to people without a drug, right? Well, I walk in there with a pillow and 3 jars of my fill, and these guys are all dressed in suits. That was even more intimidating for me. They're all dressed in suits, and I'm going, they got a CIEIO, a CFO, and all these C's, and I'm going, okay, I'm here to see you. I come in and I start talking about the pillow, and there was 8 of them. And I said, I need to borrow $30,000. I'm going to do these shows, me and my friends, and these guys are taking my company. I said, I'm going to pay you back $40,000 over 3 months. I didn't have any PowerPoint thing. I didn't even know what they were. I had a piece of paper and I wrote down, I said, I'm going to do this show, and I'm going to make this much, and I'm telling them this, and I said, yeah, I used to be a crack cocaine addict, and I kept on talking, and I'm, you know, got a little ADHD, and I'm going down all these rabbit holes, and all of a sudden the guy goes, well, when did you quit crack? And I said, last Thursday. And the guy looked at me, and he goes, I think they thought they were on Candy Camera or something. 4 of them got up and left the room. I said, well, now there's 4 of you, and that's $7,500 each. And anyway, they ended up doing it. And I walked out of there with $30,000 cash, and I know they didn't even check my license because I didn't have one. And that was but that started a series of divine appointments. And and then about 3 months later, I felt God lead me back to my church where my sister went. There's a place, Living Free. It's like an outpatient treatment. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go there. I was getting it and find out why I was addicted in the first place. And I walked in there, and there was a guy, I met him at the door, this Rafe Running, he was an instructor there. He turned out to be my counselor. I walked in the door and I said, I said, yeah, I said, I'm not addicted anymore. I'm free to this. I said, I used to be a crack cocaine addict. And I said, but I want to come here and learn where it came from. I said, I'm going to have the biggest platform ever someday with this product of MyPillow. And it's going to be a platform for God, from this foundation I'm going to have. And I'm going to write a book someday and have a movie from it. And he went home and told his wife, he said, this guy came in, he's higher than a kite. He said, he's got to be on crack. He goes, and he's told the story, and because everything I told him that day has come to fruition. But I got in his class, and it was, he goes, Mike, we're not here to talk about your drugs or whatever, what you did, how much you did. We don't care. He goes, let's talk about your father. He says, where do you come, what was your family upbringing? I said, well, my mother and father were divorced when I was 7 years old. And that we were talking about this. I'm going, I had a perfect upbringing, I was the oldest child, babysitting at 7. And anyway, we learned a lot of how not having that family is how it affects people. Well, now you go, so I leave there. We go through, I spend the next 2 years getting my company, getting my shows back and getting on stable ground again. And in the spring of January 2nd, 2011, the Star and Tribune in Minnesota did a human interest story on me. And I had dreamt that this was going to happen, but they had come out and just talked to me in early November of that year. And I was in Laughlin, Nevada, visiting a friend of mine there. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and this was 6:30 in the morning or something like that. And I was telling him, I said, yeah, my phone, it was a ding on my phone. I said, that's an order. I said, someday I'm going to have to turn off my phone because it's going to ding so fast. And I no more than said that, and you heard did. And all these orders are flowing through my phone. I'm going, what is going on? And it wouldn't stop. And I thought there was something wrong with my phone. Well, here that article had came out, and it was just me holding a pillow, and this just in a business section, no less, and it just exploded. And I said, a month later, and my kids were working Burnsville Mall in Minnesota. We had a little booth there, and the people were wrapped around up the upper deck of this. I mean, they just came from everywhere to this mall, and we're still there to this day, by the way. But it was a phenomenon, and about a month later, I thought, well, why don't I make a print ad like that? And just an interesting, with me holding a pillow, something people want to see that's real. And I did this ad. And we put it out there, and I was called from a lot of PR companies going, did you write this ad? This is terrible. And well, we were doing like 5. So if the ad cost $500, we were doing $2,500. I'm going, this is incredible. Everybody was relating to this, the truthful, honest ad. I had one big paper and that wouldn't let me put God bless in there. And it was the Washington Post. They said, you can't put God bless. I said, well, then you're not running the ad. And I needed money, and I said I wouldn't do it. And well, then after it came out in the Wall Street Journal, the USA Today, well, then they called me up. Yeah, you can put that God bless back in there. and so we, but then that spring, I thought, my dream was always an infomercial. Nobody would take me. Why not bring it right to the people? And I told my friends and family, I said, I've seen it. We're gonna make the biggest infomercial ever. But in order to do that, I had no money. And the fabric where I get my fabric, it's here in the U.S. And that company, they wouldn't give credit to anyone because it's a patented. They can't use it for anything, and it's printed. So I had to go out and convince them. I went out to New York and I met with them. There was in that particular day, the Wall Street Journal and the USA Today, New York Times, both of them had my ad in there that looked like an article, right? Well, the entrepreneur of the company, the owner, came walking out. They both fell that day, and he comes walking out. He goes, Mike, look at it. This. It just gave me more credibility that I was somebody. And I had to convince him that I was going to go from, nothing to a $10 million a month company overnight. Mm-hmm. That was my, these numbers I was going to do. And I went in there and I told him this. I said, but I don't have any credit, and I need you to, you'd have to put up millions in raw materials. And he says, and I said, yeah, I'm going to do this much. And he looks at me, he goes, you really think you can do that? I said, yeah, it's going to be the biggest infomercial in history. And his CFO guy goes, we don't have any credit app on him. He looks at me, he goes, he doesn't have anything. He goes, what? And he looks back at me, he goes, you really think you can do that? I said, yes, I can do that. And he turns back to me, goes, order the gray goods. And he gets to argue, goes, I own this company, order the gray goods. I was like meeting those 8 guys again. I'm going, yeah, order the gray goods. But I had to convince him, and then I had to convince my patent and fill company to give me 30-day credit. Well, 30-day credit ended up almost upside down on him because 30-day credit wasn't a monetary amount, and he didn't believe I would get that big that quick. Well, we filmed this, and experts came to me going, you need to do an infomercial. You need someone that's a star, like a actress or actor in there, somebody of note, and you need to, we know what we're doing. And they scripted it and they wrote a script going, the phones are lighting up like Christmas trees. I go, what? This isn't real. This is all fake stuff I see on TV. And I said, I just imagine a infomercial that's just me and my friend doing it, talking, and a real audience, just invite people and just, like a real, we don't even know what's going to be said. And we ended up doing that and we filmed it in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we did it one day. I was never so scared in my life. We had one line. The night before, by the way, this guy that was helping produce it, he brought in this real producer of infomercials, and the guy, they had this script for me, and I read the script, and she's reading it, and he sends it to him. He said, this guy is the worst I've ever seen. We can't have him on. And he said, this isn't going to work. They had all this script rolled out. Yeah. And
the experts.
And the guy, Mark goes, okay. And so then the next day they pulled the teleprompter. They said, we're not going to use it. My first line, I got in there, all these people in the audience, I was so scared. I couldn't talk. I go to the bathroom. I go, please, God, give me some guidance here. And I wasn't even born again. I'm sitting there going, please, Lord, help me with these words. And I get out there. The one line took 9 takes because it was something I would not normally say. It was some corny blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. So then we get on there, no teleprompter, and we just did it. And just like behind that thing, and all the words came natural, and we left, I say wash instead of wash, and all these, make little balloon animals out of them. We just left all that stuff in there. And it aired October 7th, 2011. I was living in my sister's basement. It came on at 3 a.m, I think, on the Discovery Channel. And I watched, and it was just surreal. I'm going, normally I wouldn't like to see myself, but it was like, wow, this is what I'd want in an infomercial that was natural. It was a half-hour infomercial. Well, in 40 days, we went from 5 employees to 500. It just,
unbelievable.
And they're going, Mike, you need to be CEO. I go, why do I want to be CEO? Don't they just take money? And I go, we need an HR department. I go, that sounds horrible. Let's make pillows. And people are pitching in. We made a little call center in a schoolhouse in Carver, Minnesota. And it was just, I think back, I go, everybody got their pillows on time. I'm going, that was a miracle in itself, for Christmas that year.
So since that day in 2011, how many MyPillows have been sold?
35 million.
Wow. 30. Well, I have 2 of them.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, I've never slept better, and I wouldn't give it up. And it's one of those things that you discover, and it becomes part of you. And I used to wake up 2 or 3 times a night, and I don't wake up anymore.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
It's amazing. Well, we've got a big sleep study coming out where I did the last couple of years, and I actually had one of the things I can't stand in this country is the frivolous lawsuits, and my testimonials were so good that they started this suit against me that they became implied claims. Well, now over the last 2 years, we've proved that those testimonials were true, and that's going to be pretty amazing. But it's been quite a journey. But over that next 5 years or 6 since 2011. My journey didn't stop there. Things weren't always easy. In 2014, we were down. MyPillow was 2 days away. That long-form infomercial had fatigued. We were 2 days away from being gone. We were down to like 10 to 15 employees, and I met this gal named Kendra, and she when I met her, she had something I didn't have. It was this relationship with Jesus, and I'm going, okay. This is what I wanted. I'm wearing my cross on TV. I've always worn my cross for 10 years, but I didn't have that. I'd see these other people and going, what's this all about? Well, and she told me a couple of things with my company, prayed about the company, and that fall, we did a 1-minute commercial and it didn't work. And then my friend inside, everything's internal. We do it. Just my friends and family we've had working, And she says, well, Mike, you should be in it. You should be in it. I wasn't in it. And then I went in it, and it changed. I don't know if it's the passion or whatever, but it immediately just exploded, that 1 and 2 minute. And we started doing our own commercials, what I wanted in them. Just real, here's my son, and here's, we have fun with it. And so then it just, we get to 15, 16, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. I had a dream. I said one of my God dreams, that we were going to triple in size. I said, we're going to build this bigger factory. 400,000 square feet, and we draw it up on napkins, me and my friends. They said, let's, are you sure, that, my board's going, we do have a real board now. They go, they just trust, because we trust, we put Jesus as chairman of the board, God as chairman of the board. And I said, yeah, we build it, like building Noah's Ark, wait for the rains to come. Well, they did in 15, and then in 16, it was the most. By the way, back in when we launched that first one, by December 26th, we were the #1 infomercial in the world. And now we're every spot you see of MyPillow is, and on radio or on TV, we view it like it's our only spot. So if it doesn't break even to the consumer, we don't run it. And because we go directly to them, and it's just been amazing. And and then you get up to the last couple of years, where all of a sudden, the president-elect at the time reaches out to me to talk about the manufacturing, everything here in the U.S. and stuff. And here I am. I meet him, and I'm going, wow, this is the most amazing guy I've ever met. I would want no one else than him to be my president. And I walked in. It was we were alone. It was August 15, 2016, and I walk in his office, and he says, Mike, you always wear your cross. He says, are you a Christian? I said, yeah, and this is a divine appointment, and I'm all nervous. And we talked about God, the inner city. We talked about me making manufacturing here in the U.S., all my 1,600 employees now, and it was just amazing. So I went all in for him, and I didn't, I knew God was saying, this is the guy, that you have chosen, or that I've chosen. And anyway, we get through 2016, and MyPillow was attacked, of course, because of that. But we got through it. We got bigger than ever, and the platform got bigger. And just last year, on February 18, 2017, I went to this retreat thing, and I myself got born again. So now look out. Tell me about that. I got as much passion now for Jesus as I do MyPillow.
So tell me about that experience.
That was amazing. It was it's called Operation Restore Warrior. It's actually for veterans, and a friend of mine, Paul Lavelle, and a lot of people I won't mention have went through it. People you would know the names, and they went through it, and it's basically to go back, your traumas and your stuff you had, your father wounds when you were a kid, a child. A lot of there's so many father wounds out there, but we're doing that. And then I think he realized, and which Kendra had been telling me telling me all along, you're not born again. When was your day? I'm going, well, it was, I don't know, I was a kid maybe, Bible study back then, and then we did the prayer, we accepted Jesus as my personal Savior, and it was just it was right there. I mean, it was like when we were going back then with these father wounds, he was right there holding me. It was just the most amazing experience. And coming out of there, it was like before I couldn't get the end of this story down. I'm telling my story, and I was always, well, God freed me of my addictions on January 16, 2009, but I wasn't walking with him. But on all those times in the crack houses and back through my life now, I'm writing my book, and I'm going, all those times I would sit and I would talk about the Bible, because I read a lot about it in jail when I was in jail, and I'd tell my friends about the Bible and that we should get off these cocaine, and I'd be talking. The next day they'd be freed, born again, and never on drugs again, and I'm going, what did I say? Mm-hmm. Well, here that whole time I was convincing myself. I was talking to myself and trying to convince myself. And all these times in my book, they're going, one of my co-writers, they were helping me. He says, we had all of my stories laid out in this big timeline of my life. And I said, what do I leave in? What do I leave out? There's all these episodes. And he said, Mike, let's just pull one. He reached back 1987, August. He goes, the average person would see that happen and go, they would surrender to Jesus right there. He says, this was all for you, with to convince me that Jesus was real, and it was amazing.
So when were you at your lowest point?
My kid, when I was in 2008, my son he had turned 18. He was by himself. When he was turning 17, and both his parents basically walked off the course. And when he was in the driveway and he was leaving me, and he goes, Dad, I can't stay here anymore. I was with this gal, and we had crack and stuff. And we thought we were hiding it, and he had this tear in his eye. He says, I'm going to go move in with my brother. And I think that was a real low point that just broke my heart. And going, because I thought, well, when we brought up my kids, I'm thinking, well, we as much as white picket fence, and the neighbors sent their kids to our house. It was a fun place to be, and I was very good at hiding the addictions, and the kids didn't even know it then. My daughter once said to me, she said, Dad, she was 18 then, she said, and this is when the divorce, everything happened in 2007. She said, Dad, we're a dysfunctional family. I said, I don't know what that means, but I said, don't ever say that again. We're fine. You had we had family vacations for a month whenever we wanted. I always spent money. It didn't matter to me. I always never wanted my kids to say, or anybody to say that you took money for your addictions and didn't spend it here. But it was the time that I missed I look back, and after my son in that driveway with that tear in his eye, that was probably the lowest, and that was in 2008 also. But that had to happen too. All those things had to happen in 2008 for, everything to build it, to get up to where I am now. But I look back, I wouldn't change anything if I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. As painful it is to think back of what I missed, or what wasted time, and I think back, was it wasted? If I'm saved now, it's not wasted. I'm being saved now. Yeah.
So how did you finally taking that step and bringing God into your life? And it sounds to me like you knew he was always in your life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I knew that. Yeah, that I did know. I just didn't, have that personal relationship. I would reach out when things were down and out, and I'm going, okay, Lord, I look back at my diaries. I kept diaries. They're going to be my book, and that would be, I'd be on a mountain in Utah coming back from Las Vegas. I was a card counter too. I had all these things and a compulsive gambler when I'd be down, $40,000 to owe in the mafia for football bets, and I'm a 24-year-old kid and going, it's pretty scary. You got them coming to your door, leaving notes on Hardee's bags going, come pay by tonight or things are going to get very physical, the book, I was working at a grocery store back then, and I told the little grocery store in Chaska, Minnesota, I came there that night. They had come to the trailer. I was living in this trailer the night before, and walking around the trailer, I could see with, after me, and I'm barricaded in my room. And the next day I went to the bank, got the money, I hadn't got the money yet. I went to the grocery store, and I said, if you see some guys that come in, Lenny, that look like they're from the mafia, I said, say Mike, telephone line 3. We only had 2 lines, and I wasn't there 10 minutes. Mike, telephone line 3, and I headed out the back door. Went to the bank the next day and got the money, and I was honest with the bank. One of the last times I used a bank that I could borrow money from bank, I said, yeah, I owe these bad guys money, and can I borrow? And I had good credit then, and I paid them off. But it was always, I would pray, at times where I would owe money or be down and out, I would just, and then I always prayed in the mid 80s, I said, at my 5-year reunion, all my friends they had graduated from college. I had dropped out of college the first year, and they had all graduated from college, and some had the same jobs they had after high school. And they were so far ahead of me, I figured I'd wasted those 5 years. And so I'm at my 5-year reunion, and I'm bragging about jumping out of airplanes, having a malfunction with a parachute, and motorcycle accidents, and being a card counter, and having the mafia chase me around. And and they're all just mesmerized, because I couldn't say, I wanted to be where they were. And inside I had all this pain because of that. And so I prayed, I said, God, all I want is a family and be married. And I was given all that on a silver platter in 1987, and then I lost it all, and that. So the prayers were answered, but I didn't ever commit. I never surrendered to Jesus, and they,
What is the secret to MyPillow?
Well, there's a couple. It works. I'll tell you this right away. Well, the idea came from God, so it's very blessed, but all the things with the made in the USA, my own manufacturing, the 10-year warranty, the wash and dry, all those things wouldn't mean anything if it didn't work. It works. Because you can adjust it exactly to you as an individual, and sleep is all about your neck being the right height, not too low, not too high. Being able to adjust it exactly for you. It's like clothes. I wouldn't wear your shoes, you wouldn't wear mine. And the industry decided a long time ago, we're just going to sell one size fits all. And they just want to keep selling us pillows over and over again. There's that. And then there's also, I think, what my company stands for and what I stand for. And I think they've all got on board. I mean, we've 35 million pillows and everything, every part of it made here, and the 1,600 employees. And my employees too, we treat it, it's like a ministry to me. All of them, if there's problems, I'm going to tell you a thing with my company. If we see a problem with an employee, we don't have typical HR. We have a help center. So if one guy's got a problem, and I know so much about addictions, I'll pull him out and we'll get him help, and the right help.
Mike, I just love listening to your story, and I just want to mention to everybody listening right now, Mike has brought with him something that we didn't even expect, and that is, as a matter of fact, last week I bought a couple of MyPillows at Costco because I didn't know Mike was going to be sitting here in front of me today, but he brought with him something very special for all of you listening right now, and that is a special deal only available to those listening to this podcast. So all you have to do is go to your phone and call 1-800-422-5310. That's 1-800-422-5310, and tell them that you want the special deal that you're hearing right here on this podcast. And use the promo code, by the way, Keep the Faith. That's a very special code, Keep the Faith. Call 1-800-422-5310, and you will get a very special deal on MyPillow. Now, Mike, I want to ask you, there's somebody listening right now who has a big dream, big idea. They hopefully didn't have to overcome what you did. Hopefully they're not out on crack cocaine right now. But give me three things. Give me three things that can really help sell their idea and to really make their idea a success.
Three things. The one would be, I would definitely get, even if it's a provisional patent, just so you can always make yourself, and beware of, people out there that are, good ideas that they're going to take from you. Be very careful who you go to, because this is key too. You should find someone you trust. It's going to be kind of a mentor, and don't make the same, just save time, don't make the same mistakes they made. And don't make to learn from them. That's any business.
So find a mentor.
Yeah. When I was in the bar business, one of the things I learned is when I bought the bar, I learned everything I could from that person or who I was buying it from. I just absorbed whatever I could and take it for what it's worth, that information, and put it in, discern from that. Well, that part, and then I can't stress this enough. They call it the trenches. The home shows, the fairs, especially if it's a product. The home shows, the fairs. You go there and you get to hear feedback right from the people, and then you can tweak your invention if that's what it is, or you get feedback on it, and you're pretty safe there where no one's going to grab it. You're not until you get in the public eye. Then then you got to beware. But those would be three things. And then I can say one more thing is, I don't like any lawyer stuff, but be very careful when you sign any contracts. I've had some of my best contracts were something I didn't sign. They were handshakes. But that's a day's gone by where a handshake is your word nowadays. I got in trouble with that too. But be very careful. I wish I would have paid back in the day. The lawyer paid the money for the lawyer just to look at it, to look at what I was getting into, because I had many times where I'm going, what do you mean? What do you mean I lost my company? What do you mean you're taking it? And I look at the fine print, So
you give me your custom pitch right now for MyPillow, will you?
Okay. Well, with MyPillow, just like all of you out there, I had the same problems you did sleeping. The pillows go flat. You use your arm. You fold them. You wake up with a headache or a neck ache, but you have these sleep interruptions where you're flip-flopping all night. With MyPillow, the patented fill, you move it exactly to fit you as an individual. So you get to sleep faster. You get to this deep REM and delta sleep. It's absolutely amazing. They stay cool. You don't have to flip them to the cool side. Here's the bonuses. They last 10 years, 10-year warranty. They won't go flat. You can wash and dry them. They stay healthy for you. Every part of MyPillow, I do my own manufacturing right here in the USA, my home state of Minnesota. And it's supporting 1,600 employees, and they're all very grateful, and we feel very blessed to be a part of helping so many people get the best sleep of their life.
So once again, for those of you listening to this podcast, Mike has a very special offer only to those of you listening to this podcast. To get your MyPillow special offer, call 1-800-422-5310. 1-800-422-5310. And remember to use the promo code KEEPTHEFAITH. That's 1-800-422-5310. Use the promo code KEEPTHEFAITH. Of course, you can also go to mypillow.com. So, Mike, you going to sing your jingle?
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world,
mypillow.com.
I'm not a singer.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you for having me. God bless.
God bless you too.
David, what an interview with Mike Lindell. I mean, you take a man that was addicted. That means he was stuck in a setback. Addiction leaves him. He finds a spiritual life, begins to change the patterns in his life. And the next thing you know, he becomes a phenom. He's on TV, puts most of us to sleep, and we wake up humming his theme song.
You know what? I just had to ask him that one question, and it just wound him up. And I mean, he went on, and he was just amazing. His story is an American comeback success story.
Wouldn't you say, and I've heard you interview many people, that was one of the most energetic, fired up guests you've had on in about a decade?
You know, it's almost one of those things where I almost wanted to say, maybe we should just slow it down him a little bit. Maybe you could understand him a little bit. He is so excited, and he's so on fire.
Yes.
To bring America back. He's so on fire to employ people and take care of them. He's so on fire I mean, why would a guy care about whether I sleep well or not?
Yes.
35 million people are sleeping on his pillows.
Yes. Just amazing. So,
I mean, and by the way, do you know how important sleep is?
I mean, you have to have it.
I mean, he addressed that need that we all have.
Yes.
And he found that need. He addressed it. But here's the other thing I just really admire him for. This is a guy that literally was not a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He let so many people down, including his family. I mean, he just about lost it all.
Yes.
Okay. And but at the same time, he knew that there was a greater strength out there. He did. That story talks about wearing the cross before he was a believer.
Just amazing.
He felt inside of him that there was a reason that he had to wear the cross.
Yes.
Okay. And it wasn't until sometime later that he found that reason, and that was Jesus.
Yes.
And then it's just amazing how he turned.
You've heard me say this before, that a comeback is not a go back. Had Mike Lindell kept trying to go back and fix all the things that he messed up, he'd still be walking backwards.
Well, and I know that's what I have here to talk to you today about, because
yes.
In my own walk, many times I don't care how much I press forward.
Okay.
I don't care how much I say to myself, you know what? God has given me this great opportunity. I just need to keep my eye on the ball. You know, there's that little demon in there that wants wants me to look back and say, boy, you really screwed up.
Yes.
You screwed up your marriage. You screwed up the fact that you did not deliver on fulfilling that perfect family life for your children. And there is not a week that goes by that I don't sometimes have regrets.
It's not easy because everywhere you go, there are triggers that remind you of your failures. So let's say if someone's struggling with alcohol today, they're going to go into just a regular convenience store. They're going to see alcohol everywhere. If they're struggling with sex addiction, it's coming at them everywhere they go. If they're struggling with gluttony, I mean, you can go into the doggone 7-Eleven and they're selling you pizza.
Yeah.
Is that the truth?
That's true. Yeah.
And so you have triggers, I have triggers that are trying to take us back to our past. But I'm going to give you something today that I think is going to really help you
Please.
And help everybody who's listening.
Okay, please.
What we have to do is that we have to renew our mind. It's an amazing thing. Studies have been done that we get over 50,000 thoughts a day that come either into our mind from the outside of maybe a billboard we saw or something we saw on TV, or just things that are just in our mind from the past. 50,000. Can you imagine? If you do not renew your mind, you got problems. Because of those 50,000 thoughts, if a lot of them are triggers that try to keep you stuck in your past, that's what's going to happen to you. You can get triggered all day long. You can just be driving down the street and it's trigger, 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 trigger. If you just broke up with somebody, it could be trigger, 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 just going from one place to the other. But if you renew your mind and begin to meditate on the proper things, think about this in your own life.
Mm-hmm.
When you begin to meditate on the right things, isn't it amazing that the wrong things begin to dissipate? Tell me if that's true.
No,
or not.
that's very true. And I'll tell you one thing that probably does help me more than anything else is music.
Ooh.
If I need to reposition my mind and to put it in the right frame of mind, I listen to certain songs.
You just said a perfect word, to reposition. Because what happens is that wherever you shift your satellite dish, that's the networks you pick up. So if you put your satellite dish towards I'm fearful or I'm afraid or I'm a felon or I hurt people or I'm a divorcee, that's what you pick up.
Wow.
But you just said something amazing. You can reposition your mindset by one song even.
Yeah, and if and you have to carefully select that song because if for example, I was married in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And we all have special songs, right? If you want to position yourself in a bad place, listen to your favorite songs that you had with her in the 90s.
No, of course.
Right?
There goes the trigger.
There goes the trigger.
Yes.
And it's almost like, I want to feel that hurt. Therefore, I'm going to listen to those songs just like I'm going to take that pill.
Yes.
Right? Or I'm going to drink that drink. You know what it's going to do to you, but you do it anyway.
Yes.
And, I just think that, as I look back and I have a whole series of regrets.
Yes.
And if I want to, like you said, if I want to go there, I know how to go there.
Yes.
It is an addiction to some extent for me to go there. It's almost like I want to hurt myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna help the mentor, okay? Because you're a mentor to tens of thousands of people, okay? So even the greats need a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, Phil Mickelson, great golfer, has got a golf coach.
Yeah.
So on this program, I'm your coach.
Thank you.
Here's what you have to do. You have to forgive, forget, and go forward. Okay. Easier at times to forgive someone else than it is to forgive your own self.
Yeah.
Wow. You got to forgive, forget. So I want you to say these words. It's part of our life coaching today. Say, it's okay.
It's okay
To forget.
to forget. Wow.
Is that powerful?
That's powerful. That's good.
Because forget means, oh, I'm forgetful. I forgot my keys. I forgot to do this. My mate asked me to pick up something at the grocery store. I forgot.
Yeah.
No. There's a forget that's positive.
Wow.
It's okay.
I never knew that. I had no idea
That's a
that there is a forget that is positive.
That's a Tim Storey original. They don't pay me the big bucks for no reason, son. But I need you to do it again. Say, it's okay
It's okay
to forget.
to forget.
See, I have a famous movie star that I work with. He's one of the top movie stars in the world. And I said to him, if these people that are interviewing here, you keep asking you dumb questions, just get up and walk out. And you'll see that this person has done it. Do you know why? Because they're trying to remind you of things and saying, it's not okay to forget. Tell us the story again. Relive the story. Go back to the awful emotion. No. It's okay
It's
to forget.
okay to forget. Yeah. Wow. That says it all. I am going to just you know what? I'm going to get in my truck here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bow my head and I'm just going to think those words.
It's okay to forget.
It's okay to forget. That's powerful.
Yeah, because you know what's going to happen. Then you're going to go forward.
Yeah, that's
You
powerful.
cannot go forward until you realize it's okay to forget.
Wow.
They're watching and listening to a very powerful podcast. And the reason we do this is because we're changing lives on purpose. The feedback is amazing. And if you have a question for us or a topic that you would like us to talk about, or even a person you would like us to interview, how do they reach out to us? Can you tell them?
Yeah, just reach out to us. They're at the email address there on our website, and I will tell you, we're getting so many requests from all of you as it relates to potential guests, and
Yes.
and we're on top of that. But the one thing I really want to encourage is for you to share your story and for you to write in with your questions.
We want to hear their stories.
We want to do that. And man, I feel for you. I have the greatest privilege in the world sitting across from you, Tim. You are a world-renowned mover, shaker, life coach. You worked with the biggest, the best. Your events are amazing, sold out. I mean, you've done what, 75, 80 countries, your events?
Yes, 75 countries of the world and speak to at least 80,000 at one time.
Wow. And if people want to get in touch with you, they do that how?
TimStorey.com. So that's TimStorey.com, TimStorey.com. Large Instagram following, large Facebook following. But again, my vision is to see your vision come to pass.
Well, thank you, my friend. It's so great to be with you here each time. And just want to remind all of you, please do subscribe if you haven't already done so, and get your friends to subscribe. Tell them about our very special meeting place right here. And remember, you can find us on Apple Podcast. You can find us on Stitcher, Player FM, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, now we're also on YouTube, so you can check us out there too. This is just a very, very special place that we meet here, and we just love your feedback. And please remember to give us that feedback. It's really important to us. That's it for this edition of CIA Contagious Influencers of America. I'm David Sams, along with my good friend Tim Storey. We'll see you next time. And remember, go out there and live your life in living color, because it sure is a lot more fun than living it in black and white.